Good morning, Pink Girl here with Time to Be Creative. That's Time Like the Spice. That's the name of my Etsy shop. And I am continuing with my journal envelope, my envelope journal. I posted a video a couple of days ago. I was going to come right back after I'd stitched it together, but it was late and the dogs and I'm getting ready for a couple of craft shows and my time has gotten away from me. So I'm just taking a little time this morning to show you what I did and to rewind a little bit and show you how I did it, because I changed my mind on a few things. My prerogative, right? Oh, well. So I was working on this envelope journal. This is a little journal made out of 2 envelopes, and I hadn't decorated it. I was getting ready to stitch it. And then I went ahead and made a second journal, did a few things differently. So I'm going to show you both of them. And then I'm going to work on a third journal and kind of pick up where the last video left off. So this is the journal I was working on in video number 1. And when I left you, I was going to stitch it together, which I have since done. So this is the pocket that I put stitched down the center. And then I stitched in my first signature. And then I stitched in my second signature. However, when I went to stitch this in, because I did this a little differently, I put the pocket where the spine bends, and then I left myself a little room on each side in case, you know, whoever wants to put some things in these pockets. So I moved these over and stitched them in, but what I didn't allow for was the extra length on the pages. So I had to trim my pages down to make it work. I did not trim them exactly even. That doesn't necessarily bother me. And I had put on my material to connect both front and back cover of the journal. But I should have decoupaged my cover first before I did that, because what I had to do was lift this up and tuck my napkin underneath there. So I decorated it with a Christmas napkin. I've got a script napkin behind. I just put this little label type tag on the front to make a little pocket, and I have just popped in a few little cutouts. All right. I did stitch it down each side of the spine, and then I came around and stitched around the whole piece all the way around, and then I stitched in my journals and my center pockets. Then I did some stamping. I added a Velcro dot, and then I just made a few tags from the same paper as the 2 pockets in the center. And then I just added a little, this is a graphic 45 postage stamp. Stamped a little bit on the inside. And they're just blank pages for either a journal to write in, it could be an art journal, another little journaling card. And of course, whoever might own this at some point can add to the pockets. So this is it, and this one Velcros shut on the back. So that's the one I was working on video number 1. And then when I went to decoupage my napkin and my decorations on the front, I thought, you know, I should do that before I put the cloth and put the actual envelopes together. So that's what I did on journal number 2. This is a sunflower napkin. I think I just ordered that and just had gotten it in the mail. My glue's not holding there. I guess I'm going to have to do something different there. But what I did with this one was, instead of stitching in the signatures, I did the blanket stitch and put them on by hand. All right. And what I did was decoupage my envelope outsides. Got that all set up. Then put my cloth material on. Then I stitched my inside along my spine. This I sewed the signature right into the center. There is no pocket on this one other than the two side pockets that the envelope gives you. And this, we've got 20 pages to either art or journal on. Again, I just found some paper. This is, I wanted to stay like in the yellow tones. I don't have much in my stash, so I just found some cardstock that would work. I added a strip of graphic 45 paper, which is wonderful paper. The inside flap of my envelope, I used the script napkin that I used on the front. And I did the same here. And this journaling card, I just found this cute little cutout that was in one of my books that I'm cutting apart for collage, and use it as ephemera for journaling. So that's another little card for the front pocket. I always fold this back envelope in. You really could remove that. You could put a magnet or Velcro there to keep whatever you have in the pocket secure. You could also use it really as a bookmark. And I like to fold over the back envelope flap as part of your closure. So rather than put a Velcro dot on this one like I did the other, because I had some extra length on my, it's not really twine, the string that I used to stitch my signature in, I thought I could use that as a tie close for my front. And then I created this pouch. This is just an old, from 1971, slide from a slide projector. I added a little rusty pin and a little tag there. And as you can see, my glue is not holding. So there's material there. So I'm going to stretch in front of you. And I'm going to add some Fabri-Tac to that. And then I had made, they're kind of like a little ATC card. I had made a batch of these, all different, with different napkins that I decoupaged on. And this just had the sunflowers on it and really just goes with the look of this journal. So I'm just going to include that in the pocket. Oh, excuse me. I think I was up too early. So I'm just going to add a little additional glue. I did glue this down last night. My room is cold and I didn't put anything on top of this to hold that down. So really, you can decorate these any way that you want. I absolutely love the feel of these journals. I don't know what it is. This just used the regular 5x7 envelope, and then with the decoupaging on top and adding material to the spine, I don't know, I just love the feel of it. So what I'm going to show you today is a third journal that I'm going to work on. I'm going to decoupage the envelopes first before I put the envelopes together. I may put a pocket in this one. We'll see. I'm not quite sure yet. I've got a few ideas, but they're not not carved in stone, as you would say. So I'm going to see how that works out. So once this dries, I can put my little journaling card back in. So I'm just going to set this off to the side. And I also have a video posted where I grunged up my paper for my signatures. I have 10 sheets of paper here. Again, as you nestle these and fold them and nestle them into each other to make your signature, you can see my pages are not even. That doesn't bother me, but you can certainly put this in your paper trimmer and trim that off if that is an issue for you. But I'm going to leave mine alone. I have a new paper trimmer. Not sure I love it yet, and I haven't been cutting as straight as I would like to cut. So this is going to go in the center of my envelope journal. And here are my two envelopes. And I cruddied these up the same way. I don't remember what I called the video. I think I called it something like mock jelly plating or something like that. All I did was mix some acrylic paint in water, and put it in my Tim Holtz sprayer. Sprayed my work surface here, which is that reusable material. Added some additional water spritzes and just drug my paper through that mess. And it doesn't look tea stained, but it does look stained and older. So that's what I did. But I want to also decoupage on this cover because I just like the way it looks and I like the way that it feels. But I don't want to use a lot of pattern on this because I'm going to decorate this with a paper pad that I purchased just a little while ago from, I don't know where I actually got it, but the paper pad company is Stampera. The paper is beautiful. It's one of these deals where you buy stuff and you love it and you want to use it, but yet you don't. This is beautiful paper. And so I'm just going to use this to do a couple of cards for inside and decorate the front. I can't even. I just love this paper. This one is called Shabby Rose. And it's just a light pink, cream colors. There's some green. And look at this one in the back. It's like not really a sepia, but it's kind of on that order. It's just beautiful. There's a pink version. And what they do is they also give you paper on their front, inside, back cover. So you can cut that and use it. It's nice weight paper. It's just gorgeous. There's just no other. So I want to use this to decorate. But the napkins that I have, I think, are a little too busy. So what I thought I would do is, because I have some Uggo napkins, and they were fine. I got these at, I think, the Christmas tree shop a couple of years ago. You buy a whole pack for like $1.50 or something. So this has got some sailboats on it. I had something I was going to work on. But I just want a plain piece of napkin. And I'm going to just take that first piece off because most napkins are 3-ply. So I just pulled off the first back. And this is the second. But as you can see, this has a little bit of an imprint that's like the first generation of the napkin backing. So I don't want this to bleed through what I'm working on. So I just took off that initial first piece, and that should be enough to just decoupage it onto my envelopes, and I'll get that textury, crunchy kind of feeling. All right, so I'm just going to tear this initially, and I want to put it on my envelope and on my flap. Now, one of my envelopes tore a little bit when I was putting the paint. Yeah, see, I've got a little bit of a tear here. So I'm hoping that when I decoupage my napkin on, and then also when I put some paper on this inside flap to decorate, that's going to take care of that for me. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, which it doesn't have to be the first thing, but I like to take off these little flippy flappy things here. My napkin. Keep getting my napkin and my envelopes mixed up this morning. Woo! I think I should have stayed in bed a little longer. Right. You could leave these. I don't know why. I just like to take them off. Okay. And then I'm just going to come in with my white napkin backing. When I tore that in half and it's not big enough. Well, I can move it over here because I'm going to have material down the spine that's going to flap over here. So that'll be okay. So I'm going to use, let's see what I have available here. I think I'm going to go ahead and use my other choice is Golden Matte Medium, but I'm going to see how the Mod Podge does with this. And I'm just going to put a little bit of, let's see, I usually save, let me see if I have any. I usually save the backings to my paper pads so that when I do anything like stamping or gluing, I mean, this work surface cleans up very nicely, but I'm just going to add that additional protection there so I don't have a big mess to clean up while I'm recording. And then I want to get a piece of, now I don't really mind that it gets too lumpy and bumpy. I like the roughness because I'm not going to journal on top of my cover. I may stamp, and even if I stamp on top of it, I don't mind that there's texture there. The stamping does not have to be perfect for me, at least for this project. And of course, I forgot to get my plastic wrap out. I like to use a piece of plastic wrap. A couple years ago, I watched a gal do some decoupaging, and she used plastic wrap to help her smooth out her surface a little bit without tearing the napkin. Now, the room that I work in is very chilly this morning, so I've got my little heater blanket wrapped around me. So I'm just going to get my piece of plastic wrap. Now, I just stole this from the kitchen, but you don't have to use the good stuff. You can use stuff from the dollar store. It works just as well. All right. Now I have my glue brushes sitting right behind me here. I just need to grab a couple paper towels. Keep those handy. And grab a brush. I'm going to use a large brush so I can get the area covered fairly quickly. And you could put wax paper under you or work on your surface that nothing really sticks to. Now I'm just going to squirt some of this on and spread it around. I don't have to go all the way to the edge because, like I said, I'm going to put material there, and my napkin's not big enough to cover that. And I got something in my glue. Don't mind me. I always put my extra glue and my extra paint. If I have anything that shows up in my paint or my glue, I just wipe it on the back of my hand. It peels off and washes off. It's just a habit I've gotten into, and I don't know why. All right, so I'm just going to lay my napkin down where I want it. And then I'm going to come in with my plastic wrap. And just smooth that out. And depending on how much Mod Podge or glue or medium you use, sometimes you can get a couple uses out of the plastic wrap. Now see, you can pull this and it kind of moves your napkin a little bit without tearing it. Sometimes. I mean, you have to be gentle. It's a napkin and it's wet. Now, the video I watched, and this is years ago, I have no idea who the lady was. She said you can either leave it on like this and let it dry or peel it off, immediately and let it dry, which I'm going to do because I'm going to use my heat gun because I'm videotaping this. And let's be honest, I'm always in a hurry anyway. So I want to just get that done. So I'm just going to hit it a little bit right now and then set it aside and do the second one. Of course, there goes my phone. Now I'm just going to do this for just a little bit. And then so it's not real wet when I set it aside. And because I use the white, of course you can see my, it's not really inking, but the distressing I did with the paint underneath there, which that's fine. All right, now I'm going to do the back side, or it might end up being the front side. Same thing, I'm going to just paint on some of my medium here, using the Mod Podge today. I use Mod Podge a lot for any scrapbooking and gluing that I do. I find that it works well for me. I don't, however, use it as like a top coat on anything because I have found that it just doesn't seem to dry very completely for me. And so I started to use the Golden Matte Medium. That is a little more expensive to use, so I only use that on a project where I'm concerned about the finish and the finish drying completely. Now, I don't have to be too fussy with this because I'm going to decorate on top. And then I'm going to come back again with my piece of plastic wrap. Just work that out. Now, the hard part is going to be deciding what paper to use to decorate. I also purchased a couple of days ago, and it came in the mail. Now, where did I put it? Script napkin. Oh, here it is. So I peeled the backing off of this napkin. Of course, I only have two. I want to cover my whole surface with this because I don't want to use all of it up. But I'm going to take pieces of this to decorate maybe behind the images that I pull out of my paper pad. All right, I think that'll do. And you want to be gentle. And then I'm just going to toss that paper wrap, that plastic wrap. All right, I'm going to heat gun. So one of two things. I can leave that and use it as the back cover, or I can design around it for my front cover. Decisions. Let me bring this other one down. You know, I already have my signature ready. I think because I'm not going to put a pocket in this one. I'm trying to think what I have. I wish I had a really nice, it's cold in my room. I wish I had a really nice number 10 envelope, like maybe that had a color, like a pink or a gray. But I don't. That would be nice for a center pocket. And this will have two pockets. All right, so now once I put this together, I am going to trim it. You know, once I put my material backing on here, I'm going to trim it so I can stitch around the edges and inside. So I don't really have to worry about this because this is all going to get cut off. So I'm not worried we're going to think too much about you know, that overhang that I have on the napkin. I feel like I'm really way off center here with the camera. Move over a little bit. All right, so it's going to go like this. So I know I want to take and use some of this, and I don't want straight edges. I want rough edges that will blend into the paper or the background that I choose. So I should really sit these. I mean, they're fairly dry, but let me just sit them up here. And I don't want to cover the whole thing because I covered it with a napkin. I just want to use a portion of one of these sheets of paper. And I was thinking I'd like to put one of these circles on the front. And I did get out my, I have it right behind me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to cut that out. And then maybe I'll be able to decide. I'm thinking, oh gosh, there's a butterfly and the rose. Just the rose. And the little roses. Oh my gosh, these are all just really beautiful images. So this is not going to fit in my little hand crank cutter. I think mine's called a Cuttlebug. So, oh, and look, you know, you've got beautiful stuff on the back. It just kills you to cut the paper. Yeah, kills me anyway. I think I might like this one down here. So let me get my Cuttlebug up. I'm not sure this is all going to fit totally on screen. But I would imagine most of you know what I'm talking about. This is a hand-cranked machine that you can put paper through to cut a specific shape. And rather than go around with a pair of scissors and try to cut this circle out, I'm going to use my little thin die and cut that out so it's nice and precise. So I'm going to make my little sandwich. If you have any questions with this, you can leave me a comment and I can kind of, I'm just going to assume you know what I'm talking about. If not, please ask me and I'll explain. So I'm going to put this on my, you get a clear platform. You get this thicker white platform for when you're using these thin die cuts. And I'm just going to position that around the image and try to get it as best as I can around the outside edge. And then I'm going to put my other plate on top so that doesn't move, and hopefully just crank it through. Nice. So then I have a really nicely cut circle. So I'm going to pop that aside. All right, so this envelope definitely has more coloring in it than this envelope. And this envelope has that bubble on the back. So I think I'm going to reverse this and use this as my back cover and this is my front cover. I'm thinking I'm going to need some lace. So I've just got that script. I'm just trying to determine how I want to lay this out. And I'm going to have material there. If I put the image there, when I fold my flap in, that's going to be folded over, which I don't mind that so much. I'm going to ink that, and I'm going to want a pocket here. All right. So I'm going to tear this napkin. And I'm going to tear a little bit off of each straight edge. Now, when I used the backing, was right next to this image for for this project that I showed you earlier. This didn't have the dark imprint. It was the second layer under this napkin, which worked out great because I didn't want a real harsh image. And it's the same with this one. So once I get this on and see how it looks, I'm probably going to put some gesso over top to kind of dull this down. So my thought is I'm going to put this napkin here. I'm going to put my butterfly here. And then I think I need to determine what I might like to use for a pocket. So many choices. So many choices. So I want something horizontal. So I've got this smaller postcard, and then I've got a larger postcard here. I think one of the smaller ones might work. Oh, this says blankets. Gosh, that's so cute, but that's really small. I think I'm going to go for this one in here. I'm going to cut that out and see how that looks. Now you could do this on your cutter. And mine fits on my desk, and I may have to do that at some point during this video, but for right now, yeah, that'll look nice. Okay, so I'm just going to quick trim this. This is what we call fussy cutting. All right, so that's going to go there. Might put some lace or something here. I'm not quite sure. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the back yet. I might do that and gesso on that. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this napkin on top of my other napkin. I wonder if I do this, how that might look, or if I put this in the center. That kind of looks cool. And then I don't have to use as much of my napkin. I'm so cheap. be able to use that bigger postcard then too. All right, let's do that. So then I can use this 1/4 of this napkin for my 2, for my front and back cover. Because I already put down the plain napkin, so why waste that, right? So you want to make sure you have things laid out the way you want them, and then especially with anything that has a pattern or a script, make sure it's going the right way. I can very easily get myself twisted around. So I'm going to bring this out to my edge of my flap edge, and same over here. And I'm just going to put down some more Mod Podge. And I'm going to get myself another piece of plastic wrap. You can straighten this out with your brush as well. But I just find the plastic wrap works a little better. And I tend to be a little rough-handed. You know your own self. You may be very gentle and not need to do this, but I like to use the plastic wrap because I know myself. Brush, because what ends up happening is I put too much out and I don't need that much, and then it sits on my work surface or in a little container, and no matter how much you cover it up, it dries up and then it gets wasted. And I don't really care if all of these edges stick totally down. I'm okay with some of these edges not being totally stuck down. If they are, great. If they aren't, that's fine too. Okay. Pop that aside, and then I'm going to do the same thing, which will end up being the back side of my... I guess I should have had some of this done ahead of time, but I wanted to show you because I didn't really think ahead on the other video. And this is not my idea. If you haven't seen the first video, this envelope pocket journal using envelopes. And I don't know if it's her idea initially. Her name is, I believe, Gi Kerr. G-I is the first name, K-E-R-R. She's on YouTube. She's amazing. She does beautiful paper work. Her things are amazing. You have to go look at her videos. All right, so I'm going to pop this aside as well. And then I just have an old piece of watercolor paper that I drew on, didn't like, or whatever. And I used this to ink my little things with. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this larger postcard as well, because I think I might like to use that. And that's also, it's got the butterfly on it. I like this green one too, but I'm just not sure that's going to work color-wise with where I'm headed. Although it could. Because I don't really need two butterflies, I guess, really, do I? Let's just see. If I put this here and here, or do I want this? I'm not sure which way that goes. Yeah, I like both of these. I think I do want the bigger pocket. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and get these inked. I'll put this little guy aside. Oh, look at that paper on the other side. See, that's just what kills me. Whew. All right, this has got a little texture, and you could come along here with the blade of your scissors and rough up this edge. And you can certainly fussy cut into all those little cracks, which is probably what I'm going to do, but I'm also probably going to rough it up. I just love the shabby chic, vintage, rough, grungy look. So I'm going to switch to a different pair of scissors for this little stuff. Just going to notch out these little pieces. I have no fingernails, so a lot of times I need to get my tweezers out and grab those little pieces of paper because I just can't get them. Now I like to use Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. I also like Gathered Twig, but I have the Vintage Photo right here, so I'm going to use that. That'll help me get more of a rustic antique look. I also have this little, I saw it on clearance. It was only a couple of dollars, so I got it. Normally I wouldn't buy this, but it's also Tim Holtz little, I don't even know what he calls it, but it's to rough up the edges of your paper. It does the same thing that your scissors blades would do. It's probably a little safer, so you don't cut yourself. Okay, and I think I'm going to go around my circle as well. We've got 3 or 4 different little blades in there that you just run your paper through. It's almost like you were sharpening your knife in the kitchen. Let's see, how am I? Oh gosh, I'm almost at an hour already. My little crumbles off. Okay, so you can see my worn distressed ink Vintage Photo. I've got sparkles all over my ink pad. And I'm just going to come in and put a little color around this. And I want to get my edges a little darker, so I'm going to come like this. And I do use Mod Podge, but sometimes I use this new glue. Oh, I have it in the other room, because apparently you're not supposed to let it freeze. In my room where I work, I turn the heat off at night. So I've moved it into the other room, but I think it's called crystal glue. I'll try to remember to put that in the bottom of my video info. It dries clear. I should write it down and have it right in front of me, because inevitably I do not remember what that's called. All right, I'm going to stitch around this card too. So I'm going to put it on the front of my book. I've got some stitches. I don't know if I'll stitch all the way across there. Maybe I will. I might stitch around this as well, because I don't know how well I can sew around in a circle. I'm really not a seamstress. But that might look cool, right? All right, so I don't want to glue these down yet because I want to stitch on those. All right, so this is the plan. This is going to go here. This is going to come here. But I want to just sew this. This is still damp. And I want to put something in here, but I'll do that after I cut that. So I'm going to see if I can figure out how to stop this video. I'm going to dry this very well. Then I'm going to, oh, you know what I need to decide? I need to decide what material I'm going to hook the book together with. Let's take a look at that. This is still damp, but that's okay. So I've got this strip of material that's got lettering and writing on it. Not a fan of that. Let me lay my other things on here. This is floral, but is that going to be too much? Well, I'll ink that as well, you know. I could use plain muslin as well, but I don't know if I have a piece of that real handy that I can get to. I think I'm going to like the piece of plain muslin. Let's just see if I can dig out a piece of that real quick. I didn't think about that ahead of time. You can use paper. You can use, you could use cardstock. You could use another piece of envelope. You could use tea-dyed, or stained paper. I just happen to like the material. You could use lace if you had some nice lace. I was in Joanne Fabrics a couple weeks ago and saw this. It's edged. I don't know. It had no marking on it. She gave it to me for a couple of bucks because I just found it laying somewhere. But see, I could stain that and cut a piece of that and put on there. I think I like that. And then I could really put some lace on it as well. Now, of course, this is too narrow, but that's the muslin. It's a little darker than that. I have a piece of my craft room looks like the city dump because I'm getting ready for a couple of craft shows, and I've got everything laying all around because I've got several projects going at once. Now, this is a darker stained piece of muslin, which I think I'm going to like. If I can find a piece. Yeah, see, I like that. All right, how wide do I want it? I think I want it fairly wide. It's going to go together like this. I'm going to glue that on there. Let's do it this wide. I like to tear it because I like to have the rough edge. Yeah. And I think I'm going to put it on this way so I can have a little overhang at the bottom. Okay, sold. So that's done. Now, this is still a little damp. I'm going to dry this off because I want to put some gesso on this. And then I'm going to see if I can stop my camera. All right, so we got the gesso out. Running out of room to throw things. All right, dry this just a little bit more. That's pretty dry. My room's not real warm, so the stuff doesn't dry quickly. Like if I'm out here working in the summer, it dries real quick. It's still a little damp back here. I'm just thinking of something else that's gonna maybe mess me up a little bit. Because ideally, I put this together and then I'm going to trim the top and the bottom so I can open up this inside and stitch without it coming through to the front. And then, of course, line the inside. But if I wrap that spine the way I want to, that's not going to work. So I think I'm going to do it in 2 pieces. It's quicker and I think easier for the video. All right, gesso is a artist medium. It's looks like white paint. It dries kind of opaque-ish. You'd probably have to use a couple of coats to get it to really look like white paint. If you wanted it to look like white paint, you would just use white paint. I think you could probably use a white paint wash if you wanted to. Let me show you the thing. This one's by Dollar Roni. Just simple acrylic gesso. You can get it in black. You can get it in clear. You may have other colors as well. I only know of those 3 colors. Again, I always put out too much. And this, I'm just going to paint this over. This script napkin. Just kind of dull that down a little bit. You can water this down too. I'm not doing that for this. I could have. I just didn't want to add any more wetness to my envelope. Okay, and I'm going to add a little water to it, and I'm going to gesso my butterfly and my other little card just to take a little bit of the brightness away. Not that it's real bright, but I just like the way it looks. All right, so, and that dries pretty quickly too, like acrylic paint dries pretty quickly. And I have some left over here and I don't want to waste it. So I have a little strip of muslin here. I think I'm going to just put it on this. So I'll use this for something. I can stamp on this, add a sign, write some words. I just didn't want to waste that little bit of gesso. Okay. All right. Now I'm wondering is once I get my spine on there and I get my pieces on, am I going to want a little bit of lace or something additional? I do have some really cool flowers that I bought. I always think I'm organized, but I'm not really. I get things out and use them. And then I think, oh yeah, I have that other project. I'll just, and then I never get back to it. I could add like a little, that's a piece of lace that I cut apart. This is what I'm talking about. I think these are really pretty, but I'm not sure if it's the cover of a journal. Well, I don't know that you'd really be writing. See, that's pretty, right? Here's oh, look at that. That might work color-wise. A couple different sizes. Let's see how that looks. And I could put a piece of lace underneath. Or a piece of cheesecloth. I love cheesecloth. I don't think I have any in here. Look at this. I found this at a thrift place. But I don't know if I can bring myself to cut it apart. But I really like that lace. I wonder what I do with my cheesecloth. There's a big piece of lace. That might work. I know I have a great big chunk of cheesecloth. You can get that in, oh, that's pretty too. You can get cheesecloth in Walmart. It's very inexpensive. And then you can tea dye that or put your ink on it and grunge that up. There's also that. I think that'd be too much like the binding. I think I really want a piece of lace or a strip of cheesecloth, which obviously is not in this box. See, as I start to work, I get more ideas. And you don't always have those ideas when you first start working at your project. So it's not easy to always pull out what you're going to need or what you think you're going to need. No idea what I do with my cheesecloth. So that's a little disappointing. I did find this. This might work too. It's just a matter of finding what you like better. I should be painting light bulbs. Look at that. See? Woo, woo, woo. All right, let me see. That's my back cover. It's going to be my front cover. So got a big blob of gesso there. All right, so the idea is I'm going to have that there. I'm going to have my seam binding for my spine here. And then I'm thinking about a flower, because when you open up the journal, you're really not going to be writing on that side of it. It has a pocket there. And then I was thinking maybe a piece of lace here. That could really wrap around the front cover. And then I could put another piece up here. I think we might go with that. So let me just cut off a piece of this. And I want that to be able to wrap around. And then I'll take another little piece for up here. Layer that like that. And then I might have some kind of a word. I'll find something to put across there. Okay. So let's see how this is drying. A little damp. A little damp. I hope you're not confused. I think it's going to all start to make sense. Because I still have the back cover that I might want to do a few things with. I just might leave that this way. So it's, not really plain, but on the plainer side. I could add some lace. All right, so I've got my fabric tack here, which I love. It's a fairly new glue to me. I really haven't been making journals that long. I don't know. I got the bug. Got the journal bug. I just love making them. All right, so I'm just going to take a piece of this. And I need 2 pieces. Okay, so we're good there. And I'm just going to glue it together. Just going to put 1 piece down. I'm going to put glue on which will end up being the inside of my envelope. And I'm gluing it this way so I can see what I'm doing. Okay. I can always come back and add glue, but it's also going to be stitched. So I'm not overly concerned about, gluing it the whole width of the material that I'm using. So I'm just putting on some fabric glue. And if you don't bring it out all the way to the edge, the other good part is that you're not stitching through your glue. Some of the girls advise that that's not a good idea. I just want to make sure your material is pulled fairly straight. Okay, now I'm going to glue the other side. My writing's all going the right way. And some gals use paper here, like I mentioned earlier. And they use just a glue stick to get it kind of in position. I think even with materials. And then they just stitch it. So they're not really using a long-term kind of glue. Because then once they stitch it, it's secure. Now I'm just going to add some more Fabri-Tac, and then I'm just going to come back in with my second piece of material and stick that down. Again, I'm just saying more towards the center here. You do get strings with the Fabri-Tac, so I always cap that back up right away. You certainly have some wiggle time, but it does stick down for you pretty quickly. And I like all the wrinkles. So, I mean, if you are not into that, you certainly could take this and iron it. But I like it this way. Now I'm going to put this on my cutting board as soon as this dries a little bit. Okay. And then I'm just going to trim off just a smidge off of both ends, and it'll open up those inside flaps, inside pockets, which I'll show you. Last night I was stitching the sunflower, and darned if I didn't run out of thread. And I thought, oh, I don't think I have any more brown thread, but I did. So I'll be using brown thread on this as well, because I like to be able to see the stitches. I really don't know that much about the sewing machine we have. It's an old sewing machine. And so my zigzag stitch, it's not really a zigzag, but I don't really know how to pick. It's an old Sears. So whatever stitch I've picked here, it just kind of pops out every once in a while. And I have a hard time remembering. I want to stitch with the good side up. Like, it's easier for me to stitch this way because I can see where the pockets are. But when I do that, I get more of a perforation on the front. It doesn't look very nice. So I've been trying to stitch this way so that I have the nicer stitch on the outside of my journal. I don't know if that makes sense. That's all I have to do is say to my husband, I know I'm not going to use it very often, but could I buy a new sewing machine? I think I'd have to plant them. All right, I think I'm going to hit this with my heat gun just a little bit so I can cut this. A couple of years ago, I never had a heat gun. I don't know how I ever lived without it because I use it almost every day, a couple times a day. Even when I'm painting my ornaments. All right, let's see. Oh gosh, we're at an hour and 15 minutes. Well, you can always fast forward on the video. So what I'm going to do here is just trim off, and what I'm trimming is this flap side. Just a little tiny bit, because I want to open up the inside pockets. Of course, I've got this extra napkin here, which makes it hard to see. And the material I just put on the spine. I don't want to lose too much of the size of my journal, so that's why I'm only taking off a little bit. I don't think I had that lined up. I'm really having a hard time using this cutter. I didn't have that straight. Oh, shoot. All right, let's see if I can get a little more off. You want to make sure it's lined up and you're cutting straight. All right, now I'm going to do the other side. Again, a little teeny tiny bit. All right. Let's get this cutter out of the way. Excellent. I didn't hit my camera, which is a big improvement. Okay, so this is the inside. I'll throw out all my little scrappies here. And now these, which was your envelope, are now free. So I want to stitch down along my spine. If I didn't do that, I would stitch right through to the front, which I don't want. So by opening this up, when I put it on my machine, I can open it this way. I can stitch here, and then I'll open this one and flip it the other way, stitch here, and then when I want to put it completely together and stitch all the way around my cover, that's all I'm going to see. I'm not going to see stitch marks down either side of my spine. And then if I stitch in my signature or hand stitch it in, that'll be down the center spine. So right now the way we have it is this is going to be the front. This will fold in. This will fold around to the back. My butterfly is going to be here. She's curling up a bit. She's going to be stitched. I'm going to have this stitched here. With that flap in, I don't know if I'm going to need that flower. And I want this to hang out the bottom a little bit. And this is going to wrap in. All right. We're going to see about this flower. I'm not sure I'm going to use it, but it's an option. All right, so I'm going to try to stop my video. I'm going to do my stitching. And then when I come back, oh, I know what I want to do. Hold on. Hold the phone. Before I do that, I want to line the inside of my pocket. So I need to pick out what paper I want to use for that. And I need to get that glued in. So let's see. It's just so pretty. Oh, goodness. either this side, but I wonder if this would be too big. Of course, I could use this, and then I wouldn't. Let me see if we use this. Then I might not feel guilty about using. So that would be that way. And I don't need it down all the way. Let's see. I think I only want it inside the pocket. So I need it to be about, let's see, 3 3/4 by, and I can trim this, by 7. I need 2 pieces like that, 3 3/4 by 7. And I gotta make sure I cut it the right way. So I want it 3 3/4 this way. Ooh, I'm glad I thought of that. I mean, I could do it, but it's a lot easier while that flap's open. And of course, my paper is only 12 inches wide, so I'm not going to get too out of it. So I'm going to do 7 inches. This I can use for a card. And I need to have another sheet, another section of that, like 3 3/4, another piece. And I'm going to do 7 inches. And that'll make another really pretty card for in my pockets. So there's no waste. Woohoo! All right, now I want to make sure my books go in the right direction, which it's not. So this is the way the book is going to be. I'm going to open it up. And I want to glue this here. Make sure my lettering is going the right way. And this here. Right? The other thing I like to do, did I leave enough? Is I like to put a little divot there where that inside pocket is. So just take a little smidge off of this while it's also not tacked down. And I don't get too concerned about lining those up. There's going to be pages in between, and it doesn't have to be directly across for me. If you want, you can measure. I don't usually measure. Now, the other thing I want to do is, of course, ink. I love to ink. To me, it makes such a difference in your finished product. It kind of just brings everything together, at least for me. And you want to remember that you get the edge of your paper as well, because sometimes when you have this kind of a look and you've got all these colors and that white rim, just to me sticks out like a sore thumb. And I also want to ink a little bit here on my, I don't know why the word mud flaps just came to my mind. My little flaps here. And I'm going to do both sides. Only takes a second, really. And to me, it's a lot of, gives you a tremendous impact. Okay, which way am I? This way. There's nothing worse than spending all this time on a project, gluing it down, you go to take a look at it, and you've got it upside down. Ugh, not good. As my granddaughter would say, not good, Hamad. And so this, I'm going to use my crystal glue on this because it sticks really well, quickly. And I put it in this little needle nose applicator because then I can get a thin bead of glue. Just going to make sure I've got it the right way. Yeah. Now once I stitch this and all my paper is dry, I'll come in and I'll trim this off. Just going to eyeball it and hopefully get it on there straight. Look, huh? Nice. All right. We're going to do this side. Now I know why this one gal that I follow makes herself a list and she writes every step down. It's easy to forget something that you want to do. Her name is Natasha, and her channel is called, I believe, Treasury Books or Treasure Books. And she does really nice stuff. Sometimes it's hard to tell which way this writing is going, whether it's the right side or going the right way or not. It's so fancy. Okay. I think I have figured out how to stop my video. So I'm going to say end stream. I'm going to go stitch this, and I'm going to stitch my cards and my little decoration there for the front. And these, I need to put some kind of back on these so that you can journal on them. I have a couple of pieces of, I think this was just coffee dyed or something, paper. So I think I'm going to glue this down. And then I can stitch on these and make my journal cards while I'm at the machine. So I love tea-stained paper, but I just don't like to make it. So when I do make it, I try to make a lot of sheets and get it a big batch done at once. I've even thought about buying it online because there are vendors that do it for you. And to me, that's wonderful. But I haven't pulled the trigger and bought any yet. And I'm just leaving a little bit of an edge on this. I should have inked that before I put it down, because I want to see that paper. See, now someone can journal on these. So let me quick do that while I'm thinking of it. Cap my glue. Again, I'm using the Tim Holtz Vintage Photo ink pad. And I put a little Velcro dot on these so that when I want to change my ink pad, I can attach this to the right one, so I'm not mixing colors. All right, so off to the machine. And the plan is, unless something happens, I'll be back. Just gonna put this on hold, I think. If I can find my mouse. There it is. Okay, I'll be back. All right, let's do pink. scratched. The little doa. Wasting nights. Check that out. Okay. Come on. I didn't stitch. Okay, I think I'm back. We're going to see how this works. Well, a few hiccups in my plan. I forgot to stitch all my flaps. I was having trouble with my brown thread. I guess it's too old or not a good brand, and it kept breaking. So I had to go with pink thread. And I got all confused about that, and anyway, I forgot to stitch on the inside. It's not a big deal. It looks nicer to me if you have, some stitching down there. And then of course the pink you can't really see that well. So I'm not sure if I come over it a little bit with my ink, if that will help. Maybe a little bit, not much. So I think I cut most of my threads. A little disappointed. But I have my cards. They turned out fine. I decided to just stitch across the top and bottom. Again, I don't know if you can see it in person. You can see it. It's a real light pink. I mean, it goes with the book. So I've got a card in each flap, which was my original envelope. And then because, and then I trimmed most of this. Yeah, I missed that spot. So I trimmed off my excess napkin. Here I have some excess paper. You can see a little bit there. So I'm going to go ahead and trim that off. Put a little ink there. Let's get a little closer maybe. Cut at a little bit of an angle. All right. And then because I had put that paper on the inside flap and it was stiff to bend it, I did score that. I put that on my scoreboard and scored that. So now this is what we're left with. This is our cover. I will, to finish the book, take my signature and I'm going to stitch that in. I don't think I'm going to hand stitch it. I think I'm going to do it on the machine. Okay. And then I'm going to have this wrap around to the back. So now I just have left is to finish the cover of the front of my little journal. And what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lace and instead of wrap it around the front cover, because I think I have enough going on there, I'm going to glue this here. So I just need to trim a little bit off. And like I said before, I want a little bit of this hanging down across the bottom edge of the book. And I'm going to use the Fabri-Tac. And this can be a little fiddly because I'm putting it on material. I don't trust myself to make a great line across my book of where I want it to go. I don't want to mark. So I'm just going to eyeball that and push it down where I want it. Ever so gently. Slide that in place. And I should have a baby wipe out, which I do not. Grab a paper towel. All right. Then I scored. I did stitch around my butterfly. And I do like the strings. So I've cut some of it off, but I do leave some of the strings because I just think they look charming. And I want this to wrap around the front cover, the front flap. So I scored that. So I'm hoping that that will help with me gluing that down. Not sure how that will go, but we're going to go for it. So I'm putting my crystal glue. And I know you probably can't see that, but that's a light mint green, green on green paper. It's gorgeous. Oh, green's my favorite color. That's beautiful to me. All right, I'm going to line this up and press that down. I'm trying to think if there's a word or something I want to. I don't think I got much glue out. I think my nozzle might be a little jammed. Let's see if I can clear that out with a pin. It's a little, pocket journal, little envelope journal. Just trying to think. I can't think of any wording that I have in a paper pack that I can use, but I can print. I have one of those little handhelds. I'm just going to tack this down a little bit here and trim that off. All right. Coming down the home stretch. So I'm going to glue down my pocket. Just put glue around 3 sides, left, right, and bottom. And then I want to glue. Now, do I want that to go under? I've got my lunch sitting here. I'm dying to take a bite. Now I guess I want that on top. I think I'm going to put this one in my Etsy shop. And then I need a couple of tags to go in that pocket. So I'm going to use these from the paper pack. I'm going to use this green one. Cute. And then I think I'm going to take this little butterfly one. Now you can add additional paper like I did with the cards I slipped in the envelope pockets. And make your journaling spots that way. But sometimes I gesso on the back of the paper. And I think that's what I'm going to do here. Because I don't really want to cover up that paper. Because it's pretty. So I'm just going to put, I mean, it's a simple, I don't want to get too involved with the journal. Keep it reasonably priced. So if somebody wants it for a young person who may be just starting to get interested in journaling, be careful you don't tack down or stick down your piece on your work surface. I'm adding some Fabri-Tac to this piece of lace. You could add a ribbon, you could add buttons. I probably am going to put a little tag on a pin. I have those right here. I think I'm going to use one of those. You can jazz it up any way that you want. We all have favorite things. Just trying to think. Maybe just my journal will work. We can at least see how that looks. If I can dig out my little tool here. Yeah, I still have tape in it. Okay, this is just a little, like a little label maker kind of a thing. I found it for a great price at Tuesday morning. It was on clearance. So I'm just going to turn it on. And I can pick out the font. Let's see. I'm going to do handwriting, I think. And the size, I'm just going to say, I think I want medium. And I'm just going to put my capital letter on, M-Y space. And cap again, journal. O-U-R-N-A-L. Print. And we'll see what that looks like. This is very handy. The only thing I don't like is that the tape, although it's supposed to be a flat kind of surface, it's a little shiny. I don't know, what do you think? I'm not sure I'm crazy about that font. Let's try the antique. I'll print that again. I don't think I want it any bigger. No, I don't care for that either. That's really small, doing the antique. And I can put my I lost my cap to my glue. There it is. I can crunch this up. I can trim some of that off too. I think I might like to trim some of that off. Oh, you know what? Here's another idea. See, I have all these little tags that I made that are on these little rusty pins. And I was just going to pin that on there. Maybe I just pin on it and say my journal on one of these. And pin that there. Or just journal. Ooh, let's do that. Now if I can find the right kind of pen I want. It's too big and gloppy. Constantly moving things around. I make myself crazy. All right, let's try this. I'm going to try. I kind of messed up the J because it didn't print. The pen didn't start working right away, kids. Let's get another. Let's get another. That's basically the idea. Yeah, I think that might work. I don't know why this glue is not working as well as it normally does. Well, I think my little critters are ready to go outside. So I'm going to finish this up and say, I'm going to put this in my Etsy shop. I just have to stitch in my signature. I don't think I'm going to stamp anything. Add my tags, which I will ink and put a hole in the top with some thread. Okay. And I'm going to dangle this little journal thing from my lace. And I think I'm going to use my brown pen. See how that looks. I think the black ink was a little too much. All right, we go with that. The hardest part's going to be trying to pin it on the lace. Just a minute, Luce. All right, I hope you liked the video. Hope you learned something. I hope you're encouraged to make one of these. I just love this little journal. So this is going to get inked. It'll get a little ribbon or something in that. Same with this one. Pop that in there. My pages will go in the center. Like this. We've got a card in both flaps. And I'll probably put some kind of little pink ribbon. This is going to go around the back. I'll put Velcro, I'm sure, on the back there. Kind of close it. And I might even put another little piece of lace here so that that matches. And, oh, look, I lined that up pretty good. And I'll probably put a little piece of, maybe a little sari ribbon on the front. So I think that's it for now. My time is gone. I'm not sure that these two videos connected. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyway, I'll see you on the next video I do. Please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do that. You can find me at Pink Girly on YouTube. And my Etsy shop is Time, like the spice, #2, be creative. Time to be creative. Hope you take some time to be creative. See you next time. Bye-bye.